Everyone wants to go to the Maldives, but it is absurdly expensive. So that's why today we're going to tell you everything we know about the credit card and award travel space and help you go to the Maldives for as little cost as possible. Hi, my name is Sean. I'm the UC Berkeley graduate that created and taught the university-sponsored course on credit card rewards. I'm joined with my co-host, Sherwin.
Hi everyone, I'm Sherwin. I'm a Stanford student who's really into the credit card points, miles, travel hobby. The reason this podcast is called the Credit Card BS Podcast, as many of you know by now, is that the initials B and S refer to the schools Sean and I attend, respectively, Berkeley and Stanford. But as normal, we put aside our differences to talk about credit card rewards and travels. So Sean said today's episode is about Maldives hacks. So Sean, what are some things you can hack and things you cannot hack for a trip to the Maldives?
Yeah, so let's start off with what you cannot hack. So this is where any trip to the Maldives, even if it's entirely paid for on points, is going to be expensive. If you're expecting a truly 100% free trip to the Maldives, let that vision go right now because I'm going to tell you it isn't happening. So the things you cannot hack are mainly the transfer fees. So when you arrive in Tamale Airport, you need to get to your hotel because every hotel essentially is on a private island. So all the hotels will charge a pretty substantial cost for this. Usually between $500 to $900 round trip per person. And there's really nothing you can do about this. You have to pay the cash for it. The only way you could technically redeem credit card points for this is by cashing them out at some cash equivalent, which I would not recommend. So that's going to be expensive. If you got a family of 4, that's going to add up quite a bit already. Even with 2 people, it's rather expensive. The other things you really cannot hack are the activities. So, you're in this picturesque tropical place, amazingly beautiful, but you're going to want to do some activities. So when I was in the Maldives, we did like this thing where they towed us on an inflatable behind the boat really fast. We did night snorkeling, and then I did a water jetpack. And it was expensive, okay? Even the night snorkeling, which was the cheapest, that was $95 pre-tax per person. It was like 120 something after that. The inflatable ride actually, now that I remember, was cheaper, but it was still like $100 for the 2 of us for like 15 minutes. So that's going to be expensive. And then, of course, food. All these resorts, presumably, are 5-star, very, very nice hotels you'll be staying at. So the food is going to be very, very expensive. And again, you're on a private island. So it's really eat their food or starve. So you're going to eat their food. So at least for lunch and dinner, there's not that much you're able to do. You're going to have to pay the cost. For us, we are both vegetarians that do not drink. So for my player 2 and I, when we went, it wasn't that expensive. For food, at least. I mean, comparative to other people. So it wasn't too bad, but you're going to be looking at least $100 per meal. If you're having meat, if you're having alcohol, you would easily see that push into the $200 or more range. So that's what you can't hack. However,
now, I don't. Oh,
you talk about what we can hack.
One thing. I don't know if this counts as a hack, but I have seen people say that you should just like pack a bunch of snacks to when you go to these places like the Maldives where the food's really expensive, so that you're not like super hungry later on, but you don't want to pay like exorbitant amounts of food. So that may or may not be a hack.
No, honestly, I think that is really good advice. So we brought snacks. So we had flown in from Singapore, and so we went to a grocery store in Singapore and got a bunch of snacks. And it's really useful because like I wouldn't recommend turning your like meals into snacks because you're on this like amazing kind of once in a lifetime-esque trip where it's not fun to cheap out and eat like gas station food instead of dinner, but it's really useful when it's kind of like, maybe like 3 o'clock and you're not hungry, but you're a little hungry after swimming and, you don't want to go pay for like a $30 pizza, but you want something. So I think that is a really, really useful tip.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's move on to the things that you can hack. So that's the hotels, the flights. So let's start with the hotel. So we're probably going to be looking at using hotel points or hotel certificates. That's just the most effective way to redeem these. And even if you don't have hotel points, buying the points and then using those points to book at these places can often even be so much cheaper than paying the full cash rate. So let's kind of walk through some big options. So the first one is through Hilton. So there are 2 major properties. Sean, do you want to tell us about them?
Yes. So the Hilton has 2. There's a couple Hilton properties, but the ones, let's be real, we're snobs. We only want the best of the best. So the 2 that we care about are the Waldorf Astoria and the Conrad. The Waldorf Astoria is Hilton's premier property on Earth. It is their best hotel that Hilton has in their entire portfolio. It is currently the only Hilton hotel that costs 150,000 Hilton Honors points per night for a standard room. And then the Conrad is 120,000 Hilton Honors points per night for a standard room. Now, it's very expensive, no doubt, points wise. But the Waldorf Cash sells for about 2,500 a night, and the Conrad is about 1,200 a night. These are both amazing, amazing, amazing hotels. The Waldorf, particularly, you're booking into a overwater-esque 3,000 square foot villa with a giant private pool, massive outdoor space, vaulted ceilings. It's truly amazing. I have not stayed there. Okay. You can also use Hilton Honors free night certificates to book either of these properties, assuming there's standard room availability. One thing I'll note is that Hilton does offer fifth night free on award stays, assuming you have silver status or higher, or if you just have any other credit cards because they grant you the status. So meaning you'll get, a 20% off discount if you're booking for a length of 5 nights. These are both tremendous values. The Conrad is actually pretty easy to book on points. The award space is pretty wide open most times. The Waldorf is not. The Waldorf is virtually impossible to book. It opens up close in sometimes, but when you're trying to get these consecutive nights, it is extraordinarily difficult to book the Waldorf. If there's a award dump, I would grab it. And the thing, if you're buying points for these hotels, one thing I want to note is that for Hilton, they sell their points at half a cent per piece. So if you're staying for a length of 5 nights or increments of 5 nights at either of these hotels and you buy their points on their best sale of half a cent per piece, what it will mean is that you're paying the equivalent of $480 a night for the Conrad or $600 a night for the Waldorf Astoria. So either of those are tremendous values given the standard cash prices. So Sherwin, have you seen these hotels? These are pretty famous, I feel like, in the award travel space. At least they're, everyone talks about them. Do you have any thoughts on either of these?
Yes, so I have not been to the Maldives myself, so I can't speak from personal experience. In terms of booking, I think 150,000 points is quite steep for the Waldorf Astoria, so my preference would probably be to use a free night certificate that you can earn from holding the Hilton Aspire card each year, or by spending $15,000 on the Hilton Surpass or business cards. That would be my preference. And if I'm booking points, I would definitely try to take advantage of the 5th night free, though. As Sean said, it's very hard to find large number of consecutive nights at the Waldorf Astoria. A little easier to do so at the Conrad. So, Sean, would you pay that many points for the Waldorf Astoria or Conrad? I mean, it is a lot of points at the end of the day. Even if we're not buying the points, it's a lot of points.
So for me, as someone that's been to the Maldives, I don't have a strong desire to book the Conrad. Now, it's a great looking hotel. Don't get me wrong. But given some other options we'll talk about in a minute here, I don't find the Conrad to be a competitive enough offering for me to drop everything and book. The Waldorf Astoria, however, I'm dropping all my Hilton bookings, whatever I have, and if there's an award dump, I'm booking as much as I can. And I do need to throw in here, you can book the Waldorf Astoria sometimes, and it's pretty easy, but it's easy during the summer. And that's a problem, because in the Maldives, you don't really want to go in the summer. That's the rainy season, that's the stormy season. You want to go in kind of between November to April. The best would be like January to March. That's probably your peak season, but November to April is pretty good. Anything outside of that, it's going to be stormy season, rainy season. It could still be great. You could get lucky and have good weather, but if you want to have, a pretty predictable experience, I would not go in stormy season.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Usually the availability is easier when it's the time of the year that people don't want to go. So that's just kind of how this game works a lot of places. Should we move on to the next one? So the other options, World of Hyatt has, in my view, great value redemptions. So for both the Park Hyatt Maldives and the Leela Maldives, they are Category 7 properties, meaning they can be booked with 30,000 World of Hyatt points for standard availability, 25,000 off-peak or 35,000 on-peak. Keep in mind, you can transfer Chase Ultimate Rewards points to World of Hyatt at a 1-to-1 ratio. So potentially great value for your Chase points here. I don't know, considering that these places are easily thousands of dollars per night, I think 30,000 points per night is a steal. Additionally, you can use Category 1 through 7 certificates, since these are Category 7. Which you can earn by staying at Hyatt for 60 nights a year and starting in 2024 at 100 nights a year as well. Sean, thoughts on the value proposition of Park Hyatt or Leela Maldives? Is there a preference between the two you personally have?
Yeah, so as a little bit of historical background, the Park Hyatt is rather old at this point. It was built a while ago. It's an aging property. I've heard it's very nice, and it's really nice because it's a small property. It's only got 50 rooms, which is actually rather small for the Maldives compared to some of these other resorts. Which even the one I stayed at had, which is a fairly small resort itself, had over 100 rooms or about 100 rooms, and so small property, but it is aging. The Alila is brand new. The Alila was just built, completed in 2022 April, I believe. And so the from what I've heard is the soft product, the service at the Park Hyatt might be a little higher, but the hard product at the Alila is going to be better. Even the same price points and very similar price cash wise. I feel like the value proposition is really strong on both of these. One, because it's so easy to book. The calendars are wide open all the time. So you're not looking at like a Waldorf Astoria situation where it's like, oh my God, I can never find the room. These are easy to book. It's hard to not be able to book these. Furthermore, what's so nice about it, because as you said, you can transfer the points from Chase. So it's very easy to earn these points, unlike Hilton. If you want to buy points, you could buy Hyatt points very often less than 2 cents per piece. So you're talking at under $600 a night all in for these hotels, which normally sell for $1,000, $1,300 or more per night. So the buying the points is a very good deal here. I feel like the value proposition is very strong at both of these hotels. Again, it just in terms of which one I would pick, it would depend on. I'm leaning to the Alila. I would personally probably pick the Alila, but if someone wants to pick the Park Hyatt, no issue at all. Just remember though, I should throw in for the Park Hyatt and Alila, you are not booking into an overwater villa if that's your dream. You are booking to a beach villa. For the Waldorf and the Conrad, you can book into a semi-overwater villa. So the Waldorf is like half on land, half over water. The Conrad is actually like fully over water, but it's like at the beginning of the jetty. Both of the Hyatts are beach villas.
Okay,
Is that something that would matter to you
if
you were going
pretty
to these
useful
places?
to know. I think I think a beach villa and an overwater villa like does make a difference for these, but also just depends on what points and what availability there is. If I'm going to Maldives, probably not going to be too picky, especially if can use points. Should we move on to Marriott? Are there any good options there?
Yeah, so Marriott is interesting. Marriott has a lot of properties in the Maldives. So they have Le Méridien, they have Westin, they have Sheraton, they've got St. Regis, they've got Ritz, they've got JW, and they've got W. So let me tell you this. The Sheraton sucks. The Westin, let's be real, we're not going to a Westin if we're going to the Maldives. What's interesting is the Le Méridien is actually very good, I've heard. Now, the Le Méridien, so keep in mind, Marriott prices are technically dynamic speaking. They do fall within certain buckets, but for the most part, they are dynamic. They can range quite a bit. Le Méridien is one where it seems to hover around 50,000 points a night. This is a very good redemption because this hotel still sells for $800, $900, $1,000 a night. Sometimes it even goes $600 a night. Still very good value for 50,000 points. The Le Méridien, remember, Le Méridien is the same tier of brand as kind of like a Westin. So it's not in the luxury tier. It's kind of in the, Grand Hyatt, Hyatt Regency, Westin, Sheraton tier. But I've heard very good things about the Le Méridien. So if you want a more budget-friendly option for your points and want to stay for longer, Le Meridian's very good, especially because remember, Marriott does do 5th night free on points bookings. For more premium options like the JW, the W, the Ritz, or the St. Regis, the points cost goes up significantly. So the JW and the W are a little cheaper, of course, because they are technically like lower tier brands than the Ritz-Carlton or the St. Regis. For all of them, we're going to see a range between about 90,000 to 120,000 points per night. It's going to depend on the specific property and depending on the season, but that's the range we'll usually see. I feel like when you're going during peak season, what tends to happen is all these properties go to the max end of the price point. And that's useful to know because value-wise, the Ritz and the St. Regis may be the best value for your points. Because, yes, they might be like a little more expensive than the W or JW, but remember, Ritz and St. Regis are higher tier brands. So you're going to have better service, presumably better food, just an overall, it's a more elevated hotel experience.
Do you know if
the Ritz-Carlton, yes.
Actually, finish your thought first.
I was going to say the Ritz-Carlton is pretty new. St. Regis is a little older, and the W I've heard has an amazing reef. I spoke to someone that had stayed there before. If you care about snorkeling and the house reef, W is supposed to have a phenomenal house reef. Don't know too much about the JW though.
Okay. Do you know if these properties are good use cases for free night certificates? It sounds like Le Meridian's 50K range. Maybe you could use a 50K certificate and top it off some points. Is the Ritz and the St. Regis reachable with an 85K certificate?
That's a very good question. I feel like for if you're timing it right, you can definitely use an 85K cert probably at the Ritz or the St. Regis. If you're going like over Christmas or New Year's or something, but if it's like January, February, you're kind of picking the dates and you're looking at the calendars. I feel like you could probably grab a night at 100,000 points or less, and then just top up the 85K cert up to the 15K points that you're allowed to do. So
Okay.
I feel like you could definitely do that. In terms of like a stay length, and this is something we haven't talked about, I feel like Maldives minimum stay length 4 or 5 nights, very low end. Anything lower than that, it's kind of, I don't know, it seems kind of weird. So what I would do, on my kind of low end range of this, I would use 5 nights points booking and then use like a certificate or so to extend it to 6, and then you're kind of getting into a comfortable range.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the challenge with certificates often is, at the end of the day, you're only going to get one night. So, you would have to, for these types of places, use it as part of a longer stay where you're mostly paying for the other nights on points. Okay, finally, there's IHG. So we covered Hilton, we covered Hyatt, we covered Marriott. IHG, I'll say this, the options here are kind of bad now. There used to be really good options for Six Senses, especially if you can combine it with the 4th night free benefit that comes on IHG Premier and IHG Premier business cards. Buy 3, get 1, basically. That represented a great value proposition for many of these properties, especially because you could buy IHG points at half a cent per point. I think the value proposition's kind of gone now. I was just taking a look, like the intercontinental options in the Maldives can be up to 100, 200, even 250,000 points per night, which is a lot. There is a Holiday Inn resort in the Maldives that's hovering around 50K. I think the range is like 30 to 60K. Sean, thoughts about that option?
I mean, if I'm going to go to one of the most remote destinations on the planet, I have to, especially if you're based in the United States, if I have to fly 20 hours to get there, I'm not going to no Holiday Inn. We're going to some legitimate hotels. Now, it could be a wonderful property. I could be totally wrong. But let's be real. If we're flying this long, let's not go to a Holiday Inn.
I mean, it does look like a really good property. Definitely not as high end as the other options we've talked about. But, you do make a good point that, it's quite a bit of effort and time and money to get there. So you want to make the best of it. Another question I wanted to ask you was thoughts on hotel hopping. Hotel hopping meaning going to multiple properties in the same trip. Is this something you would do? Is it a good idea? It sounds like the transfers can be expensive and challenging. Maldives, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I've thought about this a lot because when I was planning my Maldives trip, I was like, should we go to an extra hotel for a few extra nights? I was thinking of adding like Le Meridian on the front end because I went to Six Senses Lamu for my trip there. The proposition, the reason it's tough to justify is the transfers are so ridiculously expensive. So for my hotel, Six Senses Lamu, it was $750 a person, about. Let's say I could get another hotel for $500 a person, which is on the low end. That's on the very low end, okay, for these transfer costs. That's $1,000 I'm paying to go to another hotel. For that price, I could buy 2 extra hotel nights worth of points and just stay at the same hotel. Like if I'm staying at Park Hyatt or Alila, I could just buy, $1,000 of Hyatt points, basically get 2 nights extra just for the cost it would, I would incur just to visit a new hotel. So for me, it's like, would I rather visit a new hotel, or for the same price it would cost me just to get over to that new hotel? Not even talking about the points price to stay there, but for that same price, I could just stay at my current hotel 2 more nights and not have to pack up all my bags, get on a seaplane, go to the seaplane terminal, get on another seaplane. Like for me, that's a tough sell. If you are swimming in cash, or if you're swimming in time and cash, where, you just have this really long trip, it's like 2-3 weeks, you don't want to stay at the same hotel the whole time, then it might make sense. If you got like a week or so and you're trying to budget your trip, I feel like it makes way more sense to take all that money you would have spent on the transfers, use it to your own hotel stay, either for extra nights or to pay for your food and activities. That's at least my view on it.
Okay, I think that's a pretty good take. I personally love hotel hopping, but Maldives is not Las Vegas. It's not that easy to get around. So okay, now that we've talked about a bunch of different booking options for hotels, I think we should dabble in the elite status portion of this, especially as it pertains to hotels. And one important benefit of elite status that is especially relevant in Maldives is free breakfast. Now you might be like, oh, breakfast, that's just the first meal of the day. What's the big deal? Now remember, Sean said something very important earlier. Food is very expensive in places like the Maldives. So the strategy here, to cut to the chase, is to leverage the free breakfast as a big significant meal so that you only have to have at most one additional meal that day. Sean, did that explanation make sense? Is there anything?
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. And so when you have elite status and you're getting the free breakfast, these are massive breakfast buffets, also with a la carte menus. You can eat as much as you want. So what we would usually do is eat a fairly late breakfast and really just pile in the food. I mean, my God, we were eating quite a lot. Now, of course, it didn't really feel like we're forcing ourselves to do that because the food is so good at all these properties that these are amazing, wonderful displays of food, and it's very, very good. You're going to want to eat a lot. So when you eat that much, you don't really need to have a lunch. If you're eating a 10 o'clock breakfast, we ate one lunch while we're there, but usually we didn't feel like, oh, we need to go eat lunch because we were so full from breakfast. We had a couple snacks in our room. And so it wasn't like I had to eat lunch and buy 2 meals. We only had to pay for dinner every night. And, to me, at least I don't really care about the lunch experience that much. Dinner's way more fun to do. So I totally agree with that. I think it's a really, really smart way to save some money. As well as, one, you're not paying the cost of breakfast. Let's be very clear. That's the important reason you want the elite status. But 2, then since you're not, eating breakfast, since you are eating breakfast and such a big breakfast, you may be able to skip lunch.
Honestly, I think using the free breakfast to skip lunch is such a good hack. I've never been to the Maldives, but I've used this hack on many of my trips, even at places where, it's not as expensive as the Maldives. But oftentimes the free breakfast you get at hotels is so substantial that even if I wanted to eat lunch, I physically cannot. If you want more details about getting free breakfast at hotels, check out episode 18, the podcast. We do a deep dive into that. But for the purposes of the Maldives, the main hotel statuses we want to focus on are Hyatt Globalist, which is probably the most difficult to obtain. A Marriott Platinum status will give you free breakfast. You can get Platinum status just by holding the American Express Marriott Bonvoy Boundless card. And then Hilton Diamond or Gold status will give you free breakfast at Hilton's abroad. So Diamond status you can get just by holding the Hilton Aspire card. No nights required. And the Gold status is even easier if you get the Surpass card. It comes with the American Express Platinum card. Very easy to get Hilton status. And I have double checked and confirmed both the Waldorf Astoria and Conrad give free breakfast to elites, so Hilton Diamond or Gold. In fact, Waldorf Astoria gives free breakfast to all Hilton Honors members, regardless of status. There were some posts online earlier about Waldorf Astoria not giving breakfast to elites, but those were all false alarms.
That's really good to hear about that, because I was worried about that property, because I would not want to pay for breakfast at Waldorf Astoria. So all these statuses really are important. And the reason, in addition to the free breakfast, is some of these properties as well will have elite cocktail hours at certain times. So I know Waldorf Astoria does it, I believe. I believe Waldorf Astoria does it, and I think Hyatt does it as well. And so it can be sometimes they'll have these free kind of sunset snacks and cocktails, and you can hang out with some other elite status members, and it's fun. The other reason, though, is potential upgrades. So upgrades are great when you can get them. Now, I need to set some expectations, though, if you're going to, go into this trip and you have elite status and hoping for an upgrade. From what I've read, the Hyatts do not upgrade to overwater. They will upgrade a category, because technically those are not standard suites. Every room at the property is a suite. So they will not upgrade to overwater at the Hyatts. They'll upgrade you a category or so into a nicer beach villa, but you're not going to get overwater. For Waldorf Astoria and Conrad,
for both the Park Hyatt and the Alila?
As far as I know, yes. I'm not saying it's guaranteed not going to happen, but I would say especially because some people really want that overwater villa experience, don't go in expecting it by any means.
Yeah, I would say if you really need or want overwater, book into an overwater. Otherwise, you're just going to set yourself up for disappointment if you were just expecting to get an upgrade. Also, I would bet a lot of people who go to these properties are elites at these hotel chain. So you're going to be competing with them for upgrade. So Just
Yeah.
don't set yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah, I agree totally. It's gonna be tough competition. I do know that like at Marriott you can get upgraded. The Waldorf doesn't really upgrade. The Conrad does upgrade, but a Waldorf and a Conrad you're booking into Overwater usually direct. Some of the Marriott properties you can book direct into Overwater as well, for what that's worth.
Cool. So now that we've talked about the hotel part, we should talk about the flights, getting to the Maldives. Now, again, flights can be very expensive, but luckily there are some ways to fly quite luxuriously using points and miles. The first major route/product is the Qatar Q Suites via Doha. Sean, do you want to talk about this product and how to book it?
Yeah, so I've flown this product. I flew it on the way coming back from my Maldives trip, from Dubai to Doha, Doha to LAX. Very nice product. Okay, I mean, there's not really anything else you would want in a business class product. So to book it, there's two main ways. The cheapest way is via American Airlines miles, where it's going to cost you 70,000 points each way. And you can, with that 70,000 points, originate in Male or, arrive in Male. You could do either way, all the way from the US to Doha, Doha to Male, or vice versa. No stopovers allowed, but you can get the whole, itinerary there. That's really, really great. And AA does allow, fully free cancellations on award tickets. The taxes are very low. The other way, if you don't have AA miles, is via Avios. So it could be any of the Avios currencies. You can transfer them ideally into Qatar Airways Avios. And so there is like peak and off-peak pricing kind of now. So we're going to see this range a bit, probably about between 85,000 to 100,000 points saver level for business class. Still a very, very good value. The taxes are higher, but since you can get a transfer bonus from American Express or other banks usually, it can be fairly reasonable to do. But just note the award availability on this route can be really, really tough to get, especially via AA. It's gotten really, really tough in recent years. But if you are able to get it on an award dump or something like that, then if you want to fly to the Maldives in luxury, this is how you do it.
Yeah, AA sounds like the best option to book it with, but as many of you know, AA miles are harder to come by. They don't transfer from any of the major bank currencies except for Bilt. The only major way to accumulate a lot of AA miles en masse would be like the American Airlines co-branded credit card sign-up bonuses. So it's more limited because it's not a major transfer partner, and it's hard to get a lot of Bilt points as well. But the Avios, I think, is potentially interesting because they transfer from a lot of major credit card currencies. Also often have transfer bonuses, and keep in mind a lot of the various Avios programs can let you transfer the Avios among those programs themselves. So for example, if British Airways is having a 30% transfer bonus, you can transfer to that and then move your British Airways Avios to Qatar, rather than transferring directly to Qatar without the transfer bonus, or vice versa. If Qatar Airways is offering transfer bonus, you want to transfer it there. At the end of the day, you can move between British Airways and Qatar.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really nice redemption. And so that's like really going to be the best way to do it, to be honest. So another way you could do it is like you could fly British Airways via London. If you do that, I guess you'll have taxes because that's what you're going to be paying. To be honest, the Maldives is such a remote location, right? It's like in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's basically at the halfway point across the planet for most people. So, or at least based in the United States. So another way you could route via Singapore, but the mileage cost is going to be expensive. There's not many direct flights there. You could go via Dubai, but there's no really good way to use miles there. So if you're trying to use points and miles for a discounted price to fly in luxury, Qatar Q Suites is going to be by far the best way to do it.
Yeah, I just think Q Suites is such a cool product because many people have characterized it as like a business class priced first class product, basically.
Yeah, I mean, having flown it, I pretty much agree. You get pajamas, which is normally only done in first class. You get to do dine on demand. If you're in the middle suites, you can lower the wall, make a double bed. Every seat has aisle access, shutting door. It's a very good product. Like, it's something that it doesn't really leave you wanting for anything. I mean, yeah, there's really nothing that when I flew it was like, oh, I fundamentally wish it had more. It had a great amenity kit, great food, great service, good bed. It's pretty much all in all the best business class in the world.
Yeah, that sounds good. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or should we wrap up for the day?
I think that's everything for today. So if you've really enjoyed today's episode and you want to help support the channel directly, the easiest way to do so is using our affiliate links. If you plan to apply for any credit cards, it doesn't cost you anything and it helps us a ton. If you want to connect with an elite group of award travelers and learn about new deal alerts, check out the Traveling Discord at the link in the description below. And if you could give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, it would help us out so much.
Thank you and goodbye.